Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. In today's video, we're going to be doing things a little bit different. We're not going to look at an electric scooter. We're not going to look at a bike. We're actually going to be looking at an electric tricycle, which I am extremely excited about because I personally have never ridden one of these things before. So when MoonCool reached out to me asking if I'd be open to reviewing their TK1 folding electric tricycle, I said absolutely, send it on over. So if you're in the market for an electric tricycle, or you're just as intrigued as I am, stay tuned because we're going to get this thing out of the box, we'll get it assembled, we'll take it outside, take a look at some of the features and functionality a little more closely, and then we're going to go out and take it on a ride and begin our end-to-end testing. And at the end of it all, we're going to determine whether or not the MoonCool TK1 is worth your hard-earned cash. So, without further delay, let's jump into the details. Alright folks, so there it is, the MoonCool TK1 in all of its assembled glory. And as you can see, assembly was pretty straightforward on this trike. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to get this thing charged up. If you were curious, it does come with a 2 amp charger, so charging time is anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. It's got approximately 15 amp hour battery on here. And one thing I do want to call out is the assembly instructions here are absolutely fantastic. Probably the best product manual I have seen to date. They also have YouTube videos that go over, the entire assembly process. So we'll get this thing charged up and then we will take it outside and do a closer look at all the features of this bike. So starting up front, the tires on here are 20-inch by 3-inch Chow Yangs. So really good for driving both on and off the beaten path. We do have pre-installed fenders here in the front as well as the rear. Here we've got a hydraulic disc brake system with a 180mm disc up front and a 180mm disc in the rear, and we'll take a closer look at how that looks like on our first ride. But that's one thing to call out about this trike is that you don't have dual disc brakes on the rear wheels. It's this centrally mounted one, so we'll definitely be putting that to the test. We do have suspension up front that has both preload as well as lockout functionality on the other side. And then of course this is the rack that we installed. You got the rack assembly and of course the basket, and it has a maximum capacity of approximately 13 kilograms. And then of course up front we have our headlight and reflector, and we'll definitely be putting that to the test with some night riding. Now, because this is a folding bike, we do have a folding mechanism here on the handlebar stem, and we also have stem height adjustment, which is nice because this accommodates riders of varying heights. And then working our way back down here, we've also got our folding mechanism, which I'll show you what this looks like in a folded state. And then we've got this, water bottle holder, which is really nice. Something so simple, but we don't often see on bikes anymore. Working our way back up the handlebars, we do have these BMX style handlebars that do have rubber grips on either side. They're not locking grips, so they do have a tendency to twist. So keep that in mind. It'd be nice to see locking grips on a future iteration of this. And then of course we've got our brake levers here. These are hydraulic, and there is a parking brake feature here. So you'll see there's a little lever here. So when you fully depress these and push this down, it'll keep that brake lever in position and lock the bike in place, because this is a trike, I should say, and it doesn't have a kickstand. Working our way over, we do have our display here, and it'll show you the power output. It'll show you the battery level remaining, your current speed. You've got a trip readout, voltage, which is important for gauging range. You've got current, time elapsed on your ride, your odometer, all that fun stuff. So really nice display. If you push and hold the plus button, it'll actually turn the headlights on and you'll see a headlight indicator there. And so we'll once again take a look at how the lights look like in night riding situations. Also on this display are the plus and minus buttons. If you hit the plus button once, it'll take you up one level of pedal assist, all the way from pedal assist 1 to pedal assist 5. And the higher the level of pedal assist, the more assistance that motor is going to give you. On the flip side, the lower the level of pedal assist, the less assistance the bike is going to give you. Working our way over, we do have our other hydraulic brake lever here on the right with the same parking brake functionality. And what's really nice about this trike is it does have turn signals. It's got left and right turn signals, and of course it's also got this wonderful horn. There you go, super loud. And if you were curious what those turn signals look like, here you go. They're not super bright during the day, but they should be more than sufficient at night. Of course, we'll test that out. We've also got a tail light on both fenders, as well as a centrally mounted tail light on the frame. And then, of course, this has integrated brake lights, so when you hit the brakes, not only does the center light light up, but the fender-mounted lights get brighter as well. And of course, back here we have a reflector for increased visibility. Here on the handlebars, we also have a quarter twist throttle, so if you want to ride in throttle-only mode, you have that available here on the right handlebar grip. Working our way over here, we've got our 170mm cranks, as well as our pedals. These aren't removable or quick release pedals, so if you want to remove them, you got to get a wrench out and pull them out. We've also got our battery here. It is a 14.5 amp hour battery, 48 volt system, so that's going to give you approximately 696 watt hours of capacity. You've also got a key here, which you can insert, turn, and remove the battery and then lock it up when you have it installed so nobody runs off with your battery. And of course here we have a very comfortable looking seat, plenty of cushion here. It's also a suspension seat. And then of course we've got our adjustable seat post so that you can adjust that to your preference. MoonCool does claim that the TK1 will get upwards of 35 to 60 miles of range, so we'll absolutely be putting that to the test. Now working our way back here, we do have our 500 nominal watt motor, which is capable of cranking out upwards of 750 peak watts of power, as well as 55 Newton meters of torque. Now this motor is mounted in a pretty peculiar spot. It is centrally mounted, and it's got connections through the chain to the front crank as well as to the rear axle. And as you can see back there, we do have a rear differential, which allows these wheels to turn at varying rates, which is going to be particularly important when you're taking turns. It avoids the tires and axle binding up, so really nice to have a rear differential. Now MoonCool does claim a top speed for the TK1 at 15.5 to 16 miles an hour, which we'll absolutely be putting to the test, but in my opinion that's more than sufficient for a trike. And of course back here we have our rear basket, which is mounted to a rack which is welded into the frame, so there's going to be plenty of carrying capacity here. I don't see any specific figures from MoonCool on the carrying capacity there, but what I can say is that this bike has a total carrying capacity of 350 pounds, which includes the rider weight as well as anything that you put in the front basket. So we will absolutely be loading this up and doing a cargo test on it. Attached to these 170mm cranks are going to be the 32T chainring, which is, you know, it's not the biggest thing for a single speed bike, but we'll definitely be putting that to the test. Once again, you're not going to be riding this thing around very fast. Now this is a cadence sensor e-bike, and as you can see we've got our cadence sensor right here, and with cadence sensor e-bikes, power delivery from the motor is based on how fast you pedal, not how much force you put into the pedals. And if you wanted a closer look at the rear wheel, here it is. As you can see, there's no disc brake assembly, there's no hub motor here. It's just a wheel attached to the axle and then that rear differential. And so we'll see how this feels when we take it out on our first ride. And for those of you who are wondering what a 90-pound foldable trike looks like in its folded state, there you go. It does get quite a bit smaller, so you shouldn't have any issues throwing this into the bed of a truck or into the trunk of a larger SUV. So now that we've gone over all the features of the MoonCool TK1, let's go ahead and jump straight into our end-to-end testing. All right, folks, so here we are on our first impressions ride with the MoonCool TK1. And all I can say is it's definitely a different riding experience than a regular bicycle because we've got 3 wheels. So turning is going to be a little bit different. So let's go ahead and make a left here. Oh yeah, you can definitely feel the lean. So definitely has a different feel than a bike. Does take a little getting used to. But so far, you know, I'm riding throttle only. And it's actually a very comfortable ride. So far, really impressed. Now, this is by no means a fast tricycle. You know, the top speed of this is like 15.5 to 16 miles an hour. And to be honest with you, I think that's all you need on something like this. You know, turning on it does take a little getting used to. Oh, it's a little wide. You definitely feel the lean. So that's one thing about tricycles, is the turning dynamics are a lot different. So I want to take a, you know, a tighter turn like this, and I'm making a left-hand turn. I'm also leaning to the left because I don't want this thing to tip over. So, you know, when it comes to riding a trike, you're definitely going to want to take turns slower, because you're not leaning the whole trike into the turn when you're taking tighter turns. This thing is, you know, staying completely flat, and you're basically turning and then using your body to kind of counteract the lean. Little off-road action for the MoonCool TK1. And coast is clear. So as I mentioned before, this is a single speed bike, and so you don't have any kind of derailleurs or gear shifters or anything like that to worry about. In terms of pedaling, it does take a bit to get it going with no pedal assist. But once this thing is moving, it's actually pretty easy to pedal without any power. Now, if you do want some pedal assist here on the control pad, you just hit the plus button, and then that first level of pedal assist kicks in with a little bit of a delay. You go to level 2, you feel the assistance pick up, level 3, 4, 5, and now the thing is really moving. So this bike does have a cadence sensor, and because it is a single speed bike, you are gonna have some level of ghost pedaling, you know, once you get up to speed. And that's just the nature of having a single speed bike. If you want to do more work, you just put in the pedal assist to a lower level. If you want to do less work, you put it to a higher level. Now with a bike like this, I can definitely see this being, you know, predominantly used by people who want to use the throttle, because I'll tell you what, it's a very stable bike. The throttle is really enjoyable to use, and you can just cruise around. But hey, if you want to pedal the bike, you've got that option as well. But right now we're topping out at about 15, 16-ish miles an hour. And it feels really stable, you know, very comfortable ride. This seat is very comfortable. It's a suspension seat, it's got some cushion in it, so definitely a comfortable ride. We will be doing a range test on this, and I suspect it's going to be a long range test because we're going to be cruising around at about 15 or so miles an hour. But MoonCool does claim upwards of 35 to 60 miles of range, you know, depending on the level of pedal assist as well as your riding conditions. Now, you've probably already noticed this, but you know, it's very easy to ride this bike with one hand because it's a trike. It's very stable, especially when riding on flat, straight roads. You know, if you turn the handlebars a little bit though, you can definitely feel the roll in the trike. So definitely don't want to make any kind of abrupt turns while you're moving fast on something like this. But anyways, really quite enjoyable. Here, like I showed you earlier, you've got your turn signals, you got your horn. That's how that sounds in the wild. Very loud, high-pitched and very loud. So you shouldn't have any issues getting attention there. So this bike does come with hydraulic disc brakes, which is really nice to see, especially on a bike of this size and weight. And we're gonna go ahead and test out those brakes in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, yes. All right, those are some solid brakes. We didn't lock up the wheels or anything like that. That got us slowed down really quickly. We're gonna go ahead and try that again. We're at max speed, 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah. All right, they definitely equipped this thing with solid brakes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get us turned around. Let's take a look at what the turning radius on this thing looks like. All right, nobody behind us. Boom, this thing turns on a dime. So if you need to make a quick turnaround, this is the bike to do it. This is the trike to do it on. Let me correct myself here. We've got 3 wheels, not 2. All right, so what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go find some shade. You know, it is like 110 degrees out today. I'm gonna go set up the other camera so you can see kind of the motor, gear, and brake mechanism in action. All right, so hopping off the bike, you can actually engage the parking brake, which is really nice. That way this thing doesn't roll away from you. All right, so I went ahead and got that camera set up over there so that you can see the motor, the chain, the disc brake all in action. So I'm actually pedaling right now. And as soon as I stop pedaling and apply throttle, that's what it looks like down there. And then of course, when I want to hit the brakes, like I'm going to do right now, you can see that centrally mounted rear disc in action. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing off the beaten path onto this field over here. So we're gonna hop off the trail and we're gonna go up this thing at a slight angle. There it is. Okay. Yes. So, you know, my recommendation is if you're gonna go up an incline, definitely do it straight. But if you do it at an angle, just be ready to lean, you know, in the other direction. All right, I'm gonna turn on to some gravel here. Give you an idea of what it's like riding this thing off the beaten path. And yeah, this thing is definitely comfortable. Let's see what it's like to pedal. Okay. So pedal assist 1, taking us about 9 miles an hour, 8-9 miles an hour. Pedal assist 2 gets us going a little bit faster. Pedal assist 3 really kicks things into high gear. And then 4 and 5 is basically the bike doing most of the work. So this thing rides really well both on and off the beaten path. That front suspension does a good job of absorbing a lot of this impact. Here we go over a little hill again, and we're right up and over that. So MoonCool TK1, off-road approved. At least for, you know, light stuff. Well, looks like the sun's starting to go down, so, you know, that was our first impressions ride of the MoonCool TK1. It's got plenty of power, handles really well both on and off the beaten path, and is overall a joy to ride. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is get this thing charged up, and we're going to go ahead and begin our end-to-end testing of the MoonCool TK1. So let's jump into that now. So right now we're going to go ahead and do a speed and acceleration test with the MoonCool TK1, and to measure the results of this test we're going to use the Draggy performance monitor, as it's going to give us the most accurate results. And for this test we're going to use throttle only, as some folks might pedal harder than others. So we're going to go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, looks like we hit our top speed there. In this round we hit 0 to 5 miles an hour in 1.21 seconds, 0 to 10 miles an hour in 3.35 seconds, and 0 to 15 miles an hour in 9.16 seconds. We're gonna go ahead and do that again, but in the opposite direction. Round 2 in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, for round 2, it looks like we did 0 to 5 miles an hour in 1.28 seconds, 0 to 10 miles an hour in 3.39 seconds, and 0 to 15 miles an hour in 9.7 seconds. All right, so that was our speed and acceleration test with the MoonCool TK1. So as you can see, no issues getting up to speed. Looks like for the purposes of this test, we were able to hit 15 miles an hour as a top speed, with me weighing in at approximately 204 pounds, which is pretty close to the 16 miles an hour that MoonCool claims is the top speed. Now, one thing to mention about these trikes is that they're not designed to be high-speed personal electric vehicles. They're more designed around utility. And so far, I found the MoonCool TK1 has more than enough power for everyday riding, both on and off the beaten path. So today we're going to do an incline test with the MoonCool TK1. So as I mentioned before, this trike has 500 nominal watts of power, 750 peak watts of power, and it's capable of cranking out 55 Newton meters of torque. But the question is that going to be enough to get us up a 7-degree incline, or approximately 12.5% grade? Well, we're going to find out right now. We are in throttle only mode right now. See if we can make it up. 11, 10, looks like we're cruising around about 9 miles an hour, and we made it up, no problem at all. So let's see how the MoonCool TK1 handles the downside of this incline. It's got those dual hydraulic brakes. And as I've mentioned before, the brakes on this trike are incredibly strong. So if you're looking for something, you know, with solid braking power, MoonCool TK1 has it. All right, so that was our hill climb test with the MoonCool TK1, and it passed with flying colors, so 12.5% grades or 7% inclines. No problem at all. So now we're gonna go ahead and get ready for our next test, which is the cargo test. So right now I am heading over to my local grocery store to pick up some salt for my water softener system. I'm gonna go ahead and grab 2 bags. They're pretty heavy, I don't know, 30, 40 pounds each, we'll see, but that'll be a great test of the rear rack on this MoonCool TK1. We'll see if it's able to handle it, and then we'll see what this trike feels like under load. So we made it to the grocery store. The question is there gonna be a place for me to lock up this bike while I go in and get those bags of salt? We shall see. All right, I see a bike over there, so there should be a place to lock it up. Oh, slow down, my friend. All right. All right, went ahead and locked up the bike. We'll see if it's there when we come back. And now for the fun part, loading them up into the trike. All right. Okay. So that's the MoonCool TK1 loaded up with 80 pounds of cargo. Let's go ahead and head on home. Okay, so we've got this thing loaded up with 80 pounds. Still, believe it or not, has plenty of power. We're still able to get up to top speed, no issue. A little bit slower, and the bike definitely feels a little bit heavier with the load, but so far, so good. All right, we're gonna head out over the intersection over there across the street. Let's see what it's like to take a right-hand turn with all this cargo. Okay. Very stable. As long as you take it, you know, nice and slow, you're good. You know, so on a trike, you know, when you're making a turn, you definitely don't want to take turns fast because they're definitely got different riding dynamics than a bicycle. But I'll tell you what, this trike is doing surprisingly well with this heavy load. I wasn't sure what to expect. And we've still got lots of power. You know, this is a 500-watt motor. You know, it cranks out 750 peak watts, 55 Newton meters of torque. So that's by no means, you know, earth-shattering power. Yet this thing handles a heavy load with no issues. Another little turn here. Followed by a right-hand turn, a little wide. All right, folks, so that was our 80-pound cargo test with the MoonCool TK1, and it absolutely passed with flying color. So I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna get this salt home, reload that water softener, and then get ready for our next test. We're going to be doing a range test with the MoonCool TK1 electric tricycle. Now, MoonCool does claim that the TK1 will get upwards of 35 to 60 miles of range on a single charge, which, as you probably know, is highly dependent on the level of pedal assist, whether you're driving with throttle only, and then of course the road conditions and your weight. Now, this trike does come with a 48 volt 14.5 amp hour battery, which is going to give us approximately 696 watt hours of capacity. And today we are going to be doing this test in throttle only mode. That'll kind of give us, you know, an idea of what the range will look like in the most extreme scenario using zero pedal assist. Now, if we were to use, let's say, you know, pedal assist 1 Yeah, we can probably go for a very, very long time, but it is the middle of the summer. It's supposed to be about 110 degrees today. And so with that, at least you'll have an idea of what the floor is for range on the MoonCool TK1. When it comes to battery levels on e-bikes, you usually have indicators on your screens, but what I found from, riding tons of e-bikes, tons of e-scooters, is that those bars are rarely accurate. And so if you have the option, which this bike does, you'll want to keep an eye out on voltage. And so this is a 48 volt system. So fully charged, we're at around 54.4 volts. And about the halfway point's going to be around 48.5, 49 volts. And so that's what we're going to use as our gauge for when to turn around today. And then empty is going to be around 42 volts. And for those of you keeping track, we officially crossed the 6 mile mark and we're about 34 minutes into this ride. We've got full bars and our resting voltage is about 53. And we are cruising along on the MoonCool TK1. See how this thing handles on the dirt coming into this turn. Haha, no problem at all. All right, and this is our pedestrian bridge here, which will give us a good opportunity to test out the hill climbability of the MoonCool TK1. We're maintaining about 13, 14 miles an hour. And let's see here. Current about 13 amps. And this does have a 20 amp controller. And we made it up. No problem at all. And if you're curious, we officially crossed the 13 mile mark. We've been riding for about an hour and 8 minutes at this point. We've still got all of our battery bars remaining, which is crazy. That's why I don't recommend relying on battery bars. I recommend relying on voltage. And looking at our resting voltage, we're at about 50.7 right now. So one nice thing to mention about this trike is that it does have cruise control. So in order to engage that, while you're riding at a set speed, you go ahead and push and hold the minus button until you see the cruise control icon show up on the screen. And now you're in cruise control. So for long straightaways, absolutely great way to kind of just sit back, relax, and let the bike do all the work. And to give you an idea of the stability of this trike, I can take my hands off, and go right into the canal. But all jokes aside, if you do need to take your hands off the handlebar, you can absolutely do it. And of course, if you ever want to disengage cruise control, you can just tap the brakes and cruise control is off. Well, we've officially crossed the 17 mile mark. We've been riding for about an hour and 26 minutes, and resting voltage is around 49.8. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take a little bit of a pit stop here. Put our pedal assist into 0 so we don't accidentally let this thing roll off. And of course, we've got our parking brake engaged. This is where we typically stop off on our e-bike range tests. But hey, look at that. I mean, we've got plenty of juice in the tank. So I think we can go for a little ways further. Then we'll get turned around. But right now, we're pacing for about 35 miles. Well, I mean, we'll see, of course, how we end up. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get myself a little bit of water here. We'll go a little further and we'll get this thing turned around. All right, and off we go. All right, folks, so we just crossed the 24 mile mark. We've been riding for slightly over 2 hours. Our resting voltage is at around 47 volts. So we should have plenty of juice left in the tank. So we got some train tracks up here. Let's see how the suspension does going over these. No problem at all. We are now back at the pedestrian bridge. Let's see how well we can make it up with less than half battery remaining. Last time it was about 13, 14 miles an hour. Right now we're able to maintain about 12 miles an hour. Pulling about 19 amps right now. And we made it right up. Woo! Coming down this fast. But as I mentioned before, this thing has got phenomenal brakes. Brakes should never be a worry for you on this trike. All right, we are back. We are back off the beaten path. And to give you an idea of what the handling is on dirt roads with this trike, you know, here we are cruising 14 miles an hour, and I'm taking turns, and it handles really, really well. And there you have it. We just crossed the 30-mile mark. We've been riding for about 2.5 hours. So we've officially passed the 35-mile mark on this MoonCool TK1. So the bottom end of the estimated range, you know, 35 to 60 miles, we were able to achieve in throttle only mode. And, you know, looking at our resting voltage, we're about 41.5. So at this point, we're going to call this range test as complete. All right, so there you have it. That was our range test with the MoonCool TK1. On this ride, we got 35.61 miles. We had an average moving speed of 13.3 miles an hour, a max speed of 16.7 miles an hour, and we had approximately 338 feet in elevation gain over the course of 2 hours, 57 minutes. So I would call this range test in throttle only a success. Now when it comes to lighting, this is what the MoonCool TK1 looks like at night. And so there you've got that headlight up front, which doesn't turn with the wheel because it's mounted to the basket, so just keep that in mind. And as we work our way back, we've got our 3 tail lights and brake light combo. So here's a closer look at those. And I'll go ahead and turn on the turn signals here. So we come over here. We'll do our left turn signal. And I don't know how well you can see it on camera, but our signal is going. And we'll do the same with the right. There's the right turn signal. And if you want to look at that LCD screen, plenty visible at night. Now in terms of the headlight strength, it does cast a beam kind of directly out in front of you. Of course, you can adjust how far out you want that. You just want to make sure that you don't blind other drivers on the road. But it gives you lots of visibility directly in front of you, but not so much visibility to the right or to the left of you. That's why with most e-bikes as well as electric scooters, I highly recommend getting a handlebar mounted light to provide some additional visibility to the sides in case something runs out in front of you. So that is the lighting on the MoonCool TK1. Let me know in the comments what you think. All right, folks, so now that we've had the opportunity to look at the MoonCool TK1 in detail, as well as take a look at its performance through our end-to-end testing, what are the things that I love about this trike? Number 1 on my list has got to be its cargo carrying capacity. It's got the rack and basket up front, it's got the basket in the rear, and as you saw with our cargo test, we can really load this thing up. And the important thing to call out is that even though it's under a lot of load, upwards of 350 pounds, it's still able to accelerate normally, it's still able to maintain its top speed, and most importantly, it's able to maintain its comfort and stability. Number 2 on my list has got to be handling and comfort. I wasn't sure what to expect with the trike, but all I can tell you is that it is a very relaxing ride, and that front suspension as well as the extra plush seat that it comes with helps dampen a lot of the impact on the road, making for an overall very comfortable ride. And finally, number 3 on my list has got to be the brakes. And I'll be honest with you, when I first saw this trike, 3 wheels, I was expecting 3 disc brakes, but it in fact has 1 disc brake up front and 1 disc brake in the rear, centrally mounted for both wheels. And so I wasn't expecting a whole lot of stopping power, but to my surprise, this thing is probably one of the best equipped bikes, trikes that I've ever tested. It's able to stop on a dime, which is going to be really important, especially when you load this thing up with cargo. So now that we've gone over the things that I love about the MoonCool TK1, what are some things that I think could use some improvement? Number one on my list is going to be the turn signals. I do think that they could be set a little bit wider, probably on the actual fenders where you have the fender brake lights. That way it's easier to differentiate that turn signal from the rear tail light. Number two on my list is going to be the grips. Now they are very comfortable, especially on longer rides, but they're not locking grips, so they do have a tendency to move on you, especially if you're going to be riding in warmer climates. And finally, number three, and this is not unique to the MoonCool TK1, it's actually something that we see with lots of e-bikes out there with fenders, but at certain RPMs of the motor, you do hear some vibration in those fenders, and it's really the fenders vibrating against the fender supports. A really quick and simple solution to that is to take some urethane washers and just place them between the metal fender and the metal support, and that'll help eliminate any of that vibration. I've done it with some of my other bikes, and I'm going to be doing it with this trike as well. So overall, looking at the pros, looking at the cons, looking at what the experience was during our end-to-end testing, I think the MoonCool TK1 is an excellent trike and a tremendous value for what you get out of it. In terms of who should buy this, if you're in the market for something that's relaxing, cruise around the neighborhood, cruise around town, this could very well be a good solution for you. Now, if you're looking for something to haul cargo around, go to the grocery store, if you're going to need that extra carrying capacity, the MoonCool TK1 can absolutely do it. And finally, if you're looking for something that's going to be more stable than a bicycle, more stable than something on two wheels, that's going to give you a little more of a relaxing and comfortable ride, the MoonCool TK1 absolutely fits that bill. Now, let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns. Happy to address those. And if you do decide that you want to purchase the MoonCool TK1, I will include a link in the description below. And if you use that link to purchase this trike, it absolutely helps support this channel and keeps the wheels moving on future reviews. And as always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.